Hey everyone, it's Victoria with Nutrition by Victoria. I have a Master's of Science in Human Nutrition, and I'm here to share my knowledge with you about the human metabolism so that you can make your metabolism a fiery one and get a lean, healthy, fit body effortlessly by just supporting your metabolism in a very natural, unrestricted way. So that gets us into today's topic. And I just want to thank you guys for all of the comments and questions that you've been leaving on my latest videos. I really appreciate them. And I'm really excited that you're enjoying my content. So it's going to keep coming. So today's question is, do you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight? Very great question. Very common question. Calorie restriction and being in a calorie deficit is still the mainstream idea of weight loss. In fact, it's so contagious that even within the whole food plant-based community, that's the model that they subscribe to. They use low calorie density eating as a way to fill up on volume and fiber while maintaining a calorie deficit. And unfortunately, just like any calorie restrictive diet, there is going to be complications with following that model as it forces weight loss at the expense of your metabolism. So humans are designed to eat. We have built-in survival mechanisms, aka metabolic alternative pathways that allow for our body to survive a famine. But ideally, we need to eat. And every day we have a certain quota of glucose that we are required to consume every day in order to generate energy in the most efficient way possible. And whenever you restrict your body from obtaining that quota of glucose, whether it's through a calorie deficit or whether it's through more output than input, you're going to slow down your metabolism by triggering that survival those survival metabolic pathways. Now, before I go too much more into depth in this topic, if you really want the nitty gritty of the human metabolism and how it works and how to eat to support a high functioning metabolism, I wrote up a coaching program that is full of all the details and resources and references that you need in order to be successful long term on this lifestyle. There's a link for that in the description box. Also, I've been getting a lot of questions pertaining to personal situations. I have a private coaching group through Facebook that I offer for personalized support, and there is a link for that as well in the description box. It all links you to my website and the coaching page of my website. I also have a lot of free content on my website, so you can give that a check. Anyways, getting back to the video. So when we trigger gluconeogenesis in particular, what that does is it signals, well, it gets triggered because our body signals, hey, there's not enough glucose available to keep running our TCA cycle at the rate that we desire. Okay, because there's not enough glucose coming in. When there's not enough glucose available, we need to make glucose from non-glucose substrates, non-carbohydrate substrates. So the primary nutrient that we then use for supplying glucose to the TCA cycle, because contrary to popular belief, you're not going to burn fat exclusively when you're in a calorie deficit. You're actually going to burn protein. So the body prefers to utilize protein for glucose synthesis as opposed to fatty acids. So, and the reason why is because to run the TCA cycle, we need glucose and we need fatty acids to be feeding into the cycle in order to run it efficiently. So, glucose is the main player because in order to utilize the fatty acids, we need to be regenerating something called oxaloacetate, and that gets created from pyruvate as glucose is broken down and run through the TCA cycle. So like I said, there's details about that in my coaching program. Anyways, so when we trigger gluconeogenesis because we've run out of glucose, we've run out of glycogen, which is the storage form of glucose. And for everyone, I'd say, running out of glycogen is going to be dependent highly on the rate of your metabolism as well as how active you are. So some people can get away with having glucose store or glycogen storage for about 24 hours, some people 18 hours. It all depends on how much glucose your body is demanding for energy production in your cells. So in order to prevent running out of glycogen, you're just supposed to eat, carbohydrate sources throughout the day, and before bed so that you can refill your glycogen source, and then eat breakfast in the morning so that you can, avoid moving into gluconeogenesis. So we move into gluconeogenesis, and we could stay there actually when we are chronically when we're chronically in a carbohydrate calorie deficit. So that will occur when you're following a calorie restrictive diet, and that will trigger gluconeogenesis, where you're utilizing protein for glucose when you don't have enough glucose coming in. So what that also does is, I'm sure some of you are aware that when you follow a calorie deficient diet, your body burns muscle. It gets rid of muscle tissue. It does this because you're losing weight, but it also does this, it breaks down your muscle tissue in order to use those proteins for glucose production. So calorie deficits are a bad thing, and a lot of people who follow calorie deficits or calorie restrictive diets or restrict their carbohydrates, there's always an emphasis on protein, eat enough protein. That protein is not going to go towards muscle preservation and not going to go towards muscle building. It's going to go towards energy production if you're in a calorie deficit or or you're chronically eating not enough carbohydrates, because your body needs a certain amount of glucose to be available to turn into energy every single day. That is our, just like you have to plug a phone into the wall at night so that it has enough energy to run the next day. That's the same thing. That's how glucose works in our body. That is our energy. That is our energy substrate. That is what we need in order to generate energy in our body. We have to eat it. Okay, so just to wrap things up, the reason why you don't want to be in a calorie deficit, and actually they asked me in particular, do you think you're in a calorie deficit doing the amount of exercise that you do? Now, the amount of exercise I do is not a lot at all. I go for a 20-minute jog most days now, and I do anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes on my spin bike or outside bike. Pretty easy, and then the rest of the day I'm just taking care of business. I might do like 10 minutes of yoga here, 10 minutes of Pilates here, but generally I exercise for an hour a day, which is, a lot less than what most people are doing who are athletes, and I'm able to maintain a very lean body composition just doing that level of fitness. Right now I'm currently breastfeeding as well, and honestly, at the point I'm at now, I feel like I have to cut back on my activity a little bit because I'm not able to eat as much or eat enough food in order to support my energy production, because my energy output is so high. So I always want to make sure that I'm eating enough to support that output, and that I have more to spare afterwards because I don't want to bonk. And actually the other day I felt it coming on. I was like, oh man, I need to spend a lot more time eating, because that's the other side of this, is that I can talk science all day long, but you have to be able to feel this out also, because you can, fill your head up with all this information, but next comes the application of it. So in order to be successful, you have to take the information, then you have to apply it. And by applying it, it can't be so like structured that you're not honoring your hunger and fullness cues, and that you're, you know, um, just training the house down with exercise, or that you're not doing any exercise at all, or that you're, not sleeping enough. Like, we have limitations within our body that must be honored in order for us to be optimally healthy. So it's like staying within an optimal range of like sleep and fitness and productivity in general, so that you can be your healthiest self. So that's where there's going to be variation with this, but ultimately it comes down to honoring your body signals. So your body's going to tell you when it needs to eat more, because your energy's going to drop, your mood's going to suffer, you're just going to be tired, and your hunger is going to be ramped up as well. You want to honor that hunger by eating, and then it's going to turn off. So by eating enough carbohydrates every day, your body becomes really in tune with how much energy you need to consume from your food, how much fuel you need to consume from your food in order to generate energy. So things that could happen in my body: if I'm not eating enough, my milk supply is going to go down. I'm not going to have any energy to train. So right now I feel like I'm at a good balance between like what's coming in and what's going out. But if I want to be able to train more, then I'm going to have to eat more and sleep more. Or if I want to have more energy for other things, then I have to train less, and keep my food consumption the same. Or let's say I became bedridden, then my appetite's naturally going to go down, and as well as my energy output. But I'm never intentionally trying to be in any kind of an energy deficit. In fact, the only deficit I'm ever trying to run is a fat deficit. And that is just simply because the fat you eat is the fat you wear. If you want to be lean, fit, and healthy, then you got to keep the fat content of your diet low. And my diet doesn't contain 0 grams of fat. It contains, probably about 10 grams or so of fat a day, like, give or take a few there. But we really don't need a lot of fat in order to be healthy. And I've, never like shown myself eating ever like overt fats. Maybe I'll have some sesame seeds on sushi every once in a while, but I really actually prefer it without, just a personal preference. But anyways, just to wrap this video up, because it's starting to get a little bit too long, I hope that it makes sense, my explanation of why you don't need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. In fact, you want to be in a calorie surplus every day, a little bit of a calorie surplus or a lot of a calorie surplus. If you're in a lot of a calorie surplus, you're going to wake up the next day and have a lot of energy to do things. So what ends up happening is when you put the fuel in, you have more energy to put out, or more energy to heal whatever's going on in your body, so that you have more energy to put out. So when I was healing from metabolic damage, initially I slept a lot and I didn't have a lot of energy at all, because all of the food that I was taking in, that energy was going towards repairing and healing my body from being in a chronic calorie deficit for so long. And then once I recovered from that, and my body started naturally dropping weight because my hormone levels are balanced now, then I had more energy for output. So you put the energy in, you get the energy out. It's kind of like driving a car, right? So you put the gas in, and you're going to be able to go a certain amount of miles on that gas, and you can't go as far if you don't put enough in. So put the fuel in to get the energy out, right? And that is your TCA cycle working, right? That's the glucose coming in and the fatty acids from, if you're running the dietary fat deficit that's coming from body fat stores, that's your TCA cycle working, and then you get your ATP coming out. That's your energy battery, right? So that your cells have the ability to do the work that they need to do and do more work as you know, have more energy to be more productive and get other things done in life. So that also, last thing I'm going to say here is that by eating above, you know, eating a calorie surplus, you are guaranteeing your body that food's available, so we don't need to store fat. When you run a calorie deficit, you're telling your body to store fat because there's not enough food around. So keep that in mind. That's it for today's video. Leave any comments or questions down below, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.